let's get back to the high-end thing. What do you reckon that high-end clients are looking for in a photographer? What is it that encourages them? Are they looking for something different to what the average Joe is like me?
It's a good
What are they
question.
looking for?
Go on, you go ahead. You go first, and then I'll go second.
You're the marketer,
I
obviously.
No, I think just because somebody's spending £100,000 on their wedding doesn't mean that they're going to spend £10,000 on their photography. Our clients choose us because they appreciate good quality photography, and they can see the skill and the experience in the photographs. And I guess with that, and obviously paired with the experience, the pre-wedding shoot, the albums, the aftercare, all that equals a higher amount of money that is charged. So it's not just, they're getting married at a very expensive venue and they're spending £100,000, so they're going to book a high-end photographer, and there has to be a reason why.
People don't just book us because they want a wedding photographer. Like most high-end companies, they book because they want that particular client. They want that brand. They want that service that we give them. Same with our lifestyle imagery. Some of our crazily high-profile clients allow us into their life for a brief moment in time, and that is it's a massive burden on your shoulders when you walk in some of these places and you have to, oh, hello, and react like it's an everyday occurrence for you. And it's those clients that we work with on a regular basis, but we have to bring them something different to the table. We have to walk in there and within a few seconds, figure out, okay, do they want them inside? Where are we going to set up the softboxes? Are we going to shoot outside? Do we want to get them outside? And we have to bring all these things to the table. But it's more the experience. We shoot a wedding, particularly. The client never says at the end of the day, I bet you've got some fantastic pictures. They say, guys, thank you for being there. Thank you for doing that. And Kristie running around like a headless chicken, and Brett doing his tie and all that kind of stuff. And it's more the fact that we were there to help. And afterwards, obviously, they see the beautiful imagery, but it's never something that they question on the day. They always say, thank you just for being there.
I don't think you can just put your price at X amount and say, I'm high end, because it's not about price. It's about everything that equals up to giving this amazing experience, amazing product. And with that, yes, will come, a good amount of money. But I don't know, with high-end photography, I don't know. It's a funny term.
But is that partly simply the fact that you've been a growing reputation in that particular area of the market, and so word of mouth is important? People see what you've done in the past and align themselves with what you've done for other people that they know the value of, or the price of, or whatever. How important is word of mouth, in fact?
That's it, really. That's all there is, isn't there, really, for us?
Especially with with social media. I mean, Twitter and Facebook and Google. I mean, people can get feedback, quite quickly on how you're working and what you're doing. So I think word of mouth is very important, and I think that's one reason. The word of mouth that we get from our clients and referrals and stuff, that's one reason why we're so adamant about giving a good product as well, because that's what you leave the client with. We don't want to just leave them with a disc of images that they can do whatever they want to, put in an iBook. We want something that's tangible, that's going to be, like you say, it's going to be an heirloom, and we believe that 110%. And that's one thing that we've, I guess, with the recession and people wanting a lot for a lot less, and just having discs on images, we've fought the corner a lot for a lot of clients, and yeah, I think you had to work harder to explain to them why, but I think it's definitely worth it.
That was something that Catherine said when I interviewed her. She was talking about the importance of product and how beautiful the product is. So what she meant by that was not necessarily the images, it was more that she was talking about the physical evidence of what is left over after the day, like the album or like the framed photographs or whatever. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what you mean by product specifically?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, obviously it boils down to the pictures as well.
Of course, yeah.
That's, you're not going to put out of focus picture where you tripped over on the wrong ISO on a tungsten white balance and frame it as an 8-foot
Possibly not.
frame it on their wall. So you've got to have the product there to deliver. But we're fantastic believers that it's our products that get us our next client.
So you're saying, you've just said that word of mouth is basically it for you, but in the UK, I don't know, so I'm genuinely asking this question. How important are intermediaries like, for example, venues or wedding planners, whatever, event planners, in terms of who books the gig? Does a photographer come to get their job directly from the bride and groom or through an intermediary or a third party like that?
Both, really. But I mean, I think networking with venues and wedding coordinators are very, very important.
Right.
We don't work with a lot. We don't spread ourselves like margarine. We try and be a bit more specific about who we want to represent us, and that's ultimately what they're doing. You know, someone else is going to be able to sell us initially a lot more than if we're there selling ourselves, because it's coming from a third party, so it's more believable as if we're there in the car park selling our wares. Yeah, so we make sure that if we want to shoot somewhere again, if we shot at a particular venue and we want to work with that venue, I shoot the venue. That's what I do during the wedding. I shoot the venue for them, and then we approach them afterwards with those images, and that's our get in massively always. Every single venue that we got in last year down in London, 5 of them were approached on that level, and we now work with them.
That's great. In your business, I was thinking about restaurants. You know, sometimes I don't think I could run a business like this where you've got a flavor of the month. This restaurant's there, it's beautiful, it's amazing, and all that sort of stuff. And next month, the focus has changed, and somebody else's flavor of the month. And nothing wrong with the existing business, but it's gone. Is the photographic industry like that at all, do you think? At the top, I mean?
I don't think so.
No, I think it's a clear cut. It's like the little clear bit of water on a muddy stream. And I think it will always remain that way, no matter who's there. I think that you stay true to what you do, and it's a different kind of client that then wants that. I think the photographers who have to make their images a bit more gimmicky, they're kind of fighting for that kind of client level.
Right.
Because they have to do something a little bit different purely because of their pricing structure is the same as everybody else's.
Right. You touched on this earlier on. Has the recession actually affected you, or has it changed what you offer, for example, or what clients are looking for?
I think it's definitely changed. The market's definitely changed. We still do 15 weddings a year. That's our kind of base. People are wanting more for less. I think we have to work even harder. And that it doesn't stop how much what you do, changing your website or keeping things fresh.
That's why I look like this, Ian. It doesn't get any easier, just because we're reaching the top, and I don't think we're even at the top right. I think we're reaching the top, and the day we think that we're at the top will be the day that we go and do something else. And it's that drive that we keep within us, not just for the business, but for our images. That think, you know what, I can do better next week, and it's that constant drive that we look for to take our business and keep it going further.
I was wondering, in the recession where people want more for less, how do you defend your price? Because I think that's what you were saying earlier on. You didn't want to compromise your standards or whatever. So how do you add more value to encourage people to effectively spend as much money as they were before the recession? What have you got to do? Or is that not what you're doing, in fact? Have I misunderstood you?
I mean, I think it's continually to provide quality experience, customer service, to people, so they almost don't want to look anywhere else. They've contacted you, you've sent them a brochure, you've sent them a PDF, you've called them up, you've met, you've called them back again, and it's kind of working hard with the clients who have come off a recommendation from a hotel or from a friend, and working with those people, and they kind of forget. Not forget, but it's like, it makes sense. It makes sense what we're doing, that, you charge what you charge, and this is what it is, because everything that we do is is worth it, and it not just saying it's going to be X amount and then that's it, like it or leave it. It's right. You have to work hard with them, and I think there are some clients that it just doesn't work. All they're looking for is 800 pictures on a disc, and that's all. It doesn't matter how hard we work or what I say, that's all they want. So they aren't the clients for us.
But I think because we diversify within our business, that we don't need to shoot 40 weddings a year. Yeah. If we did need to, then possibly our mindset might be a little different.
Yeah.
Right.
But because of the fact that we limit ourselves to 15, you know, we'll drip over that if the wedding comes in, but we generally, over the last 2 years, have shot 15 weddings a year. But because that's the foundations of our business, that everything else then is the furnishings. You know, I'm a photographer. I photograph anything. I'll give it a go. Why not? And that's my interpretation. It can be detrimental if you're not careful, because you don't want to be the jack of all trades and master of none. You know, it's good to be the go-to guy for something, and then you let everything else then take care of itself. That's just on the flip side of it.
Right.
You know, so we've been known for our weddings initially. That's what we're known for. I'm now doing a lot more fashion work, commercial work, so other things are dripping into the business. But if you create a strong enough brand and stick to that image, then the clients will find you.
I think there's an interesting point there, that you're not dependent upon weddings, number one. Number two, if you're shooting 15 weddings at the right price, you don't need 30. That's the thing. You can be working a hell of a hard and not making any money if you're actually not charging a lot. I think that's a key thing.
We don't want to be busy fools, and it is a hard industry. But like Kristie said before, when you do reach the top, you have to work twice as hard, and that's a given. You know, so and we're not scared of hard work, and we're prepared to put the hours in, and I practice every single day. You know, there's no magic answer to the question of how do you become high end. It's almost going back to the old days, back to basics, back to looking after the client from the beginning, to giving them what they want, but enforcing what you can give to them without being swayed in too many different directions, and people will respect that.
Okay, I wanted to ask you about, you were talking about training earlier on. You've written a book that I know of. You've done a DVD, released at the end of last year, right? And you do That's regular correct. Workshops. Who's the audience, first of all? Is this beginners, intermediates, what? Who are the people coming along?
Everybody. I mean, I think that I find it really hard to classify a photographer, because if you put on a beginner's course, nobody will show. Okay, you put on an advanced course, nobody will show. So it's how photographers classify themselves as well that's pretty important. But the way that we teach is such that I speak not in technical jargon. It's easy to learn from me. You know, if you twiddle this and you push that and you do this, then that'll happen. And I think it's a good way to learn. The wedding DVD came about because we looked around, saw what was on the market. Everything was either unreachable or unattainable for most photographers as far as training goes, wedding DVDs in Italy and far off flung beautiful places, or it was set up. And we wanted to shoot a wedding in a regularly normal, everyday wedding situation, which it was, and produce a record of that entire day. And I was speaking to them, everything, the whole thing, the whole shebang. So
I've seen snippets of it. You know, you've got a little snippet on Vimeo, which I looked at.
Yeah.
So it is actually a day shoot, and you're in your commentary on the day shoot.
Yeah. There was only one time where I couldn't speak, and that was during the ceremony. It was kind of weird, so I couldn't really speak. Mic'd up at the back of the church, and so we've done a voiceover for that section. But apart from that, it's
really?
Talking the entire day.
Okay, so it's a commentary recorded as you go. It's not a voiceover.
There's also a director's cut, as it were, or a photographer's cut over the top of the whole thing as well. So that's a voiceover entire, talking about our business and other things.
The guests couldn't quite figure out why the video guy was videoing Brett and not the couple.
Yeah. So the focus is on the photography. It's not on what could it be? It's not on Photoshop, I guess, and it's not on album design or whatever. It's about actually shooting a wedding, and that's the beginning and end of it.
Yeah,
is
we
the same thing.
Finished album at the end.
Okay. Is the same thing true of your workshops?
Yeah. To be honest with you, what I do in Photoshop is so incredibly simple that I could probably, tell somebody in 10 seconds. So we don't really mingle that too much into our training. We like to get out, we like to get models outside, get in the church, whatever we do, get shooting and get people involved in the process of a wedding or a lifestyle shoot or a fashion shoot and just get them involved in it.
Right.
I think going back to what we were talking about before, Brett's motto is get it right in the camera. Frame it, expose it right. And what you do afterwards is the finishing tool. So
most of our courses are limited to 8 photographers. Apart from the one that we're doing abroad in France, that's 10 on that one. We limit it to between 8 and 10 photographers to give everybody a chance to shoot, to take their own pictures, to set up things for themselves, to have a chat with me. So it's not a scrum.
Right.
And going back to what you said about who's on the course, I mean, it's a mix from people who are keen amateurs who have, DSLR cameras and are looking to learn more, to people who've been in business for 10, 20 years and just looking for inspiration or wanting to know more.
Right. Can I ask another question before we go? How do you, Brett and Kristie, divide up the responsibilities in the business? You've touched on that, obviously.
Yeah, it's 90-10. 90-10. I hope my finger's going in the same time as what I'm saying.
Well, it was until we went on Skype, but you can always blame the Skype.
I don't know. We pretty early in our business life learned what we were good at. Okay, and I think that's really important for people in business. If you're a fantastic photographer and you're an amazing photoshopper, and then it comes to the sales and it all goes wrong, then you have to get rid of that responsibility, even if it's worth on a commission basis to find somebody who can do that for you. And that's the way we split our business up. There's no doubt that I can walk into any photographic situation and figure it out. Put me in a room with a client and try and sell them my pictures, and they'll probably fall apart. So we learned pretty early what our roles need to be.
I think it's simple: creative, organized.
Yeah,
it works well together.
You know how it is, Ian.
I do know how it is, and I must say I think it's a real. I know it's common with photographers to be doing what you're doing, but I think it is a real challenge in a relationship to be working in the same business. And I think that the reason why Heather and I are still together is partly because we're doing different things. We have distinct and defined responsibilities within our business, and the same thing's true of Stephen and Sonia and Adrian. So you keep out of each other's hair in a way, but
well, yeah, but there's no competitiveness here, and I think that's really important, because a lot of couple partnerships, maybe if the other partner takes pictures and, did they buy my picture or was it your picture? And there's a lot of it going on, and Kristie will shoot if we feel it's necessary. Other than that, her role is by far more important than mine. It's client care, it's looking after the process, everything to do with that. We find the work and I just go out and shoot it. All right, I'm undermining possibly my role a little bit, but it's important to find those lines between between us, and there is a line between us, and I think it's important to know your role within that boundary.
We both have the same goal, which is to make the business successful, and to have a successful business partnership and marriage as well. So it takes a lot of.
We live in separate houses, but that's another thing.
Well, is your studio at home? Excuse my ignorance.
No.
No,
you've got it. Okay.
It's 15 minutes away from where we live.
Right.
So.
And do you work? Sorry, do you bring your work home? That is a temptation. I think that's the worst thing. Yeah.
No,
we try not to. We only recently just had internet connection at home, and we try and just sort of shut the door. It's extremely hard.
Yeah, because we don't leave work until 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
My God.
The only thing you can do when you get home is go to bed.
Right. Well, actually, it's 9:30 my time, so you guys have got a long time ahead of you before you get to go home, if that's the case.
I think it's important, Ian, before we go, that I stress about inspirations as well. And I get a lot of my inspiration not from the social industry. I look at all other things. A lot of American fashion photographers, a lot of commercial work, the way films are shot. I like watching director's cut. It's important to get your inspirations from completely other genres of photography, because then you will start to produce something that will push your product into the high-end category.
What about outside photography? Do you look for inspiration outside photography, or do you do a lot of reading of marketing or anything, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, when it's a good excuse to go shopping. And we go to nice shops and we look at the way they brand their things, and Mont Blanc and the way Gucci brands stuff. And if we can bring that, we can incorporate elements of that into our branding and into the way that we shoot and the way that we shoot our weddings. Some of the fashion campaigns, some of the commercial work, we can incorporate the way that's been lit into the way I might want to light a bride. And there are many drip overs that you can bring into your own work.
I think that's actually very important. Any specific influences, since you're talking about that, within photography, without whatever? Anybody you'd like to mention?
On particular names? No, there's nobody I'd like to mention. But it's more of a genre of styles that I go looking for. Right. Even we were looking through. Was it Vogue magazine? Through Vogue magazine, with a shoot with the Yorkshire model. What's she called?
Agnes Dean.
Agnes Dean. Have you seen her? She's about 11 foot tall. But even the way she was shot, they shot her in the desert, in a town that had been overcome by sand, and the buildings were half filled with the sand, and just taking her in this wedding dress and putting her in these situations that were completely foreign to what she was wearing. And I love stuff like that. It's a complete dichotomy between the situation where you expect to put people. I think it's fantastic.
Right. Well, I do appreciate your time. It's been really interesting talking to you.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the best. I do feel a certain fellow feeling with Brett because my family are from the north of England. In fact, my father was born and brought up about 20 miles from where you are at the moment. So
I can't believe that. That's insane.
It's a great place, and we all know that Northerners work harder, etc., which maybe that's something to do with your success.
That's
anyway,
true.
I do really appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's great to be able to talk to you.
No problem at all.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Will do.